my latitude.
Ooh, I like that.
Ooh, I like that.
Good morning. Good morning. It is Wednesday and it is 9 o'clock where we are. How are you doing, Brittany?
I am good. I do, however, need hot cocoa and breakfast. I have not done that yet.
Oh, yes. I did have breakfast, but I can understand how that impacts the start to your day. So we are here for 30 minutes, though, so I think you can wait 30 minutes.
Oh, yeah, I can make it.
Wonderful, wonderful. So we have a lot happening this month, right? And I know that we'll talk a little bit about that over the course of this call, because we are going to be talking about networking and being in the right space. But yesterday we had a chat with some people about networking, and I don't want to call out names. You get my point, because some people may not want their thoughts put out there. So we're going to just pretend they're all our thoughts. But what did we talk about yesterday? What did you get from yesterday when we were talking in that group?
One of the biggest questions that was brought up yesterday was, what does it look like to safely network?
Sure.
There's a lot of places out there where networking is not necessarily safe. And one of the conversations really talked about, what does it look like when we put people in a one-to-one room?
Sure.
And that might, everyone might say, oh, well, you're in a Zoom room, you're plenty safe. But the problem is the conversation that's expected and the conversation that does happen is two different things. And when I was active in Alignable, this was one of the biggest reasons why I would not utilize the Alignable platform, and they might have changed it, but last I checked, they didn't have a let me leave this room.
Oh, got it.
If you left the room, you actually left the meeting, and then when you try to come back, it would put you right in that room again. In Zoom, you can leave the room.
Yeah, you can leave the breakout without leaving the actual Zoom meeting as a whole.
Out, and then you're put into, the big room. So you are free to leave a room. So that is a safety check that Zoom does have that I adore. In the essence of the skyscraper that we have, you can click all rooms and you can go back to wherever you want to, or you can immediately close the tab and you are done. You're out. You can, you're not.
Right, and if you come back in, you're coming back into a different room or the main room.
Yep.
Unlike, like you said, on the Alignable. And again, that might have changed. This is just our experience when we used to be on it more actively.
Yeah. So, but it's important to understand what is the space you're using. If you're using Google, I don't know if Google has breakout rooms. I don't know.
I believe they do. I've never used it. But I think I want to touch base more on safe, because I think a lot of people are like, oh, well, you can't be hurt in a Zoom room, right? You can't be hurt in a Go Brunch room. But it's more along the lines being on a call with someone that makes you uncomfortable, right? So I know that without saying names, remember, but I know that you have talked about being uncomfortable on a couple networking calls, right? Can you talk about what that felt like?
There are times where and this is why part of this conversation was one-to-ones, making sure that moving forward, you and I are making that decision of 3 people in a room. Because when you end up with a one-to-one, you end up in a space where maybe you know this person and you already know what the conversation is going to look like. You already know where you don't align with this person, but yet you're continuously stuck because you're networking with the same 20 people. So the algorithm's putting you in the room with this person. And so you already have to manage these conversations with these people. And so you have 3 minutes to manage a conversation of, okay, I'm going to force myself to just ask you about yourself, ask you to talk about yourself. That way I don't have to engage in this conversation. I was also stuck in a room once with somebody who I didn't know. They were a male who was allowed to hang out with a women's group. They were
Mm.
leader of sorts, and so they were like, "Oh, yeah, you can hang out with them." But then when I got in the one-on-one with them, they decided to tell me how they were God's gift to women in business.
Oh, those are always great calls.
That was a phenomenal call to have to listen to for 3 minutes where I was trapped, stuck, couldn't get out of trying to be polite. Um, I did report that person, and it got nowhere. So, anyways, you want to make sure, 1, the people you're reporting to are listening to you, so that is a huge, space. But then also, if you're in one-to-ones, there isn't a third person to make that awkward conversation shift. There isn't somebody who can help in that space. And we were talking about, hey, when you go networking one to one, there's a lot of people who will give you a topic. And so you can take that topic and you can make something of it. But what happens when that topic isn't something that you're even knowledgeable about? Now you're stuck with a topic you have nothing to do, you don't know where to go, and you're stuck in a room with somebody who you're just forcing a conversation. And so those are not very good feelings.
No, and I think that gave some really good examples of what we meant by not feeling safe, because I think the word safe means something a little bit different to everybody. I think we all understand the general idea, but I think it means just a little bit different to people at an individual level. So one of the things that I had thought about from that call yesterday, where we talked a lot about networking, was for lack of better terms, the forced engagement that we have with some of the networking that you and I have been on, but that we've each been on individually. But a lot of these engagement questions are meant to spark conversation, but sometimes they confuse people, or somebody doesn't have a good response to it. Or like this, we were on one call, I want to say it was last week, I don't think it was this week, where all the questions were about Christmas, and there were at least 2 people on that call that don't celebrate Christmas, right? For a reason or another. And I think sometimes we have to be thoughtful of those concepts too, to make those questions a little more general and applicable to everyone when you're doing those breakout questions.
Well, and I think that's business in general,
Oh,
right?
yeah, that's probably true.
When you, and I love it because like you have your Christmas hat, you have, your logo has all the different holidays, and those are super fun things. So people know you're a safe space for Christmas, you're a safe space for Halloween, you're a safe space for those spaces. But then you have different parts of the world, different places that things look different and different religious aspects. And you and I have been talking about um, what is it? We've been talking about something where I keep throwing something in there, and you're like, hey, this won't work for this person, or this won't work for that person. Because when we're thinking, sometimes we think right here inside of our little small town and we're not looking outside. And I think that's right. Like, we have such a unique ability right now to be a worldwide community. And when you're a
Yes.
worldwide community, that means Hanukkah, that means Christmas, that means no holidays at all. That means not celebrating anything. Sure, having an end of the year get together is an end of the year get together, but there isn't something centralized on that. And that's why we're having an end of year party and not a New Year's, not a Christmas, not a this, not a that, because all the people that we work with are all in very different religious status. They're all in very different countries. We
Just
had a
different personalities,
yeah,
right? Like, yeah.
we had a conversation. I went into a networking group the other day. It was a networking meeting supporting transgender in Russia.
Oh,
Well,
I
the
forgot about that.
safety issue of that, right? Even publicly saying that you're going to support transgender in Russia and how that works. So when you label something or you put a question out there that is supposed to be for a group, now you're pigeon-toeing people into that space, and that's why, Sarah, you and I really talked about how when we do our networking, we focus on fundamental business. We laugh because we say we trauma bond businesses by asking them about their trauma in their business. But that's the one thing that we can all across the board really come to. How
Yes.
does your 60-second pitch work? How does it sound? How is it that, what are you struggling with in your marketing? Where are you building today? What is something that you're working on? How can we help share your content? When we come into a business base, we're not, too worried about that. But even if we're talking about, oh, how is your family? How many different answers? I
Yeah.
don't have kids. I don't wanna have kids. I have tons of kids. I'm a foster parent. I don't talk to my family. I yada, yada, yada. So those questions will come up with some very, you want to look at how can we be universal and
So along that, this was months ago, like this was like springtime, but it was the networking call, and there were a few people on the call, like we were in breakouts, but I thought I was going to come up with a generic question. I was like, okay, so I have a dog. She has 3 couches. I talked to, and I'm like, who has a pet? Like, who wants to talk about their pet? I had a girl. I didn't even realize. She was like, my dog died 3 days ago. I was like, so sometimes even the most generic questions that you think like somebody's going to talk about their pet, you could step on a toe, right? And not even realize you're doing it. And you're never going to solve all of those, right? Like you can't. But I think if we're in business networking and we try to keep them as generic as possible, and by the way, asking about pets is somewhat generic. So I'm not telling that story to tell people to avoid talking about your pets. That was a one-off situation. But it's along the lines of those holiday things. When you're talking about your holiday and Christmas is everything, right? You have to understand other people have different winter holidays. And, I think that if we can all be a little more open-minded and be willing to talk about all the different things on networking and not necessarily judge people or feel like we're having to be all or nothing. I guess that's what I'm saying is like, networking calls aren't about learning everything about someone. It's about finding a bond.
yeah. No, I love it. And I
So,
agree completely with that. And I think that that's why you and I stick with those business foundations because we're here for business. We're here and you can support each other by giving each other feedback.
right.
Asking somebody about their favorite food isn't going to be a very supportive question, right? Sometimes you get into a battle of, spaghetti versus lasagna, right?
No, it's a pizza thing. Chicago pizza is the best, and the rest of y'all can just go fly a kite.
Yep, and I know somebody from New York that will probably fight you
Disagree.
on that very well. So those are the things that you look at, and then you have me, and I'm like, just all of it. Give me
Whatever pizza you want to bring me, I'll
I
test
will
it.
eat both of them at the same
Yeah.
time, like, I will stack them.
But you're from Colorado, and I know that's not where you live right now, but Colorado is not known for their pizza. They're known for a lot of things, but there's no like definitive Colorado pizza. Can we
Nope,
agree with that?
but I'm totally stacking New York pizza and Chicago pizza because Colorado is like I think truly Colorado has become this very amazing melting pot.
Do they have a food they're known for?
I don't know if Colorado has a food it's known for. I don't think so.
Okay.
I do know I'm gonna keep my mouth shut.
Okay, that's fine. You're gonna have to tell me that later because whatever was in your head just can't be announced live on socials. So let's go back to networking though. So I want to talk a little bit about finding those places because a lot of times, and I'll give an example. I've invited a few people to a current networking thing that you and I go to, and like 15 questions later, well, who's on it? Da, 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 da. And I'm like, okay, you don't really want to go. By the time you ask me 15 questions about a networking event, you don't really want to go. And that's fine. But you don't know until you try. And that's the one thing I will say about networking, whether it's in person or online. Try, if a new networking thing comes up and it works with your schedule, go to it and give it a couple tries, right? Sure, the first one might be awkward because you're the new one coming into the bunch, right? It's just like any new thing. But give it a couple of tries and see if you can find your fit somewhere. Have you ever been on a networking call that you're just like, oh, after the second or whatever time, or even the first time, you were like, heck no, I'm not going back there at all?
Yeah, I very much, and I believe that I messaged you immediately. There have been a few networking spaces. So I like what you said about, you need to give something a try. And when we're thinking about networking, it's once a week, it's twice a week. It depends on where it is. And when you're able to show up, you can see, okay, these same people are here this week. These same people are here this week. And you can start to kind of really gauge the space. And once you've been there for a month or two, you're gauging who's interacting with you. You're gauging who is really taking you serious and having conversations. I know that one of the networking groups we're in, they ask you every time you come in, like, how many one-on-ones did you have? And we know that I am not a one-to-one person. I love one-to-one meetings, but I have no clue who I had a one-to-one with because once I've had a one-to-one, I invite them to the 24-hour co-working, and now they've just become a friend who walks into our space.
Okay, I see
So
what
I
you're
have
saying. Yeah,
no
'cause you and I both have a lot of one-on-ones,
Yeah.
right? We have a lot of random group discussions. We have a lot of interactions with people. But the difference is that we very seldom actually schedule, we're going to go into a room and talk at 2 p.m. on Thursday. Like that's like maybe once a week that I actually schedule something like that. So yeah, I'm with you.
So we really have a unique situation where
Mhm.
we're inside of the skyscraper building a space where people just drop by.
It's co-working online, and I think if anybody out there has ever been co-working, well, first of all, I would tell you my first foray into co-working was Co-work Frederick. Frederick, Maryland, shout out to them. Amazing place to co-work. I met amazing people there. The owner is great, everything. And it taught me how co-working can be beneficial, right? I thought it was just get out of the house and go sit in a room somewhere else where you don't have to pay for coffee, right? Like that was like my first like thought process, right? But honestly, that co-working location is similar to what we're building online. And let me explain, right? Like you walk in, you go to the left, there's a kitchen area and like some, things, and we need to have snacks in our room. Let's go with that. But we're building that. But then you like there's different rooms and different places. You can go in a room and lock a door to make a private phone call. We have all of those in ideas, if not already built in our Keystone network.
Mhm. Yeah,
So
and so for us, like I can't just answer who I had one-to-ones with, but I
no.
can tell you that I'm building connections every day. And so sometimes expectations are not going to be met, and sometimes they're going to be oddly exceeded because our standards are different. And so when you're networking, you really want to look at that space of, do I fit in here? Am I able to accomplish what this networking group has requested of me to accomplish? We had somebody who was talking about BNIs. And
Yeah.
depending on the BNI really depends on whether you're going to get your money back, especially depending on if you're a service provider or if you are somebody who provides a product. It's very hard to ask an entire group of people to recommend your product to the right people,
Yes.
right? That's not necessarily a guarantee.
No.
So the more people that you can connect people with, the more that you can, intentionally say, this is a really good friend of mine who does this and gives great feedback. And that's what we do a lot in our co-working spaces. How can we work together? That way it's not that, oh, well, so and so does this and you need this, so go talk to them.
Mhm.
No, you create a conversation. And the more people who know the more people who know the more people, and it's a first person name basis, when other people make those connections, that's how we're going to grow. That's how we're going to be able to give the right referrals, because it can't always just be the people in my circle connect to this person because they do this. That it's not a great connection.
Right. Because so one of the problems, and I say that loosely, with my type of services, right, business and leadership strategy, is that not everyone needs it. Does that make sense? Like, and I get that, right? If you are a solo entrepreneur, the last thing you're thinking about is your leadership strategy or your leadership. Who are you leading? Yourself, me, myself, and I, right? I get it. You're probably not even thinking about it. And so a lot of times on these networking, it's a lot of solopreneurs, right? And so my goal is not to sell to them. The goal is to have them talk to their people, their other networks, to say, oh, this person's growing, this person's doing things that they should be referred to Sarah, right? And I think a lot of your services are the same way. Now, you have been lucky to find a few people that are solopreneurs that are like, sure, I need you to build out some technology for me, right? The first time thing. But like when you want to do rebuilds for company, you want to come in and streamline their services. Those are a little bit bigger companies, and those are more referrals. Those aren't the people we're necessarily networking with on a day-to-day.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that everybody, that comes into that safety net as well.
Oh, sure.
Everyone tries to sell,
Mhm.
right? And that's why people try to provide those conversational questions so that you avoid the sell. And somebody had mentioned this yesterday. They were like, well, if I can't sell or I can't speak about what I do, I think there's a difference. There's a difference in, hey, this is who I am. Here's my 60 seconds, and really getting to know people and having a conversation. The other day, I learned something completely new about somebody because their 60 seconds was not what they do. And
You're like, maybe your 60 seconds should be a little different.
I had a panic attack because I was like, oh my goodness, you should meet this person, and this person, all because in the co-working space, somebody else was interacting with them and asking them questions that I didn't even think to ask. But when we say you can't come into a room and talk about what you do, we'll never get past that 60 seconds.
And I think this is something on Fridays, we usually block out time for at least once a month, I think it is, to do like a pitch concept. And I think this is where people think that their pitch has to be a sales or a call to action, right? And a pitch is simply, this is what I do. These are the services I provide. And your tone should be, I want you to take it, but if you leave it, we'll still be friends. Right? Like, so it's that take it or leave it concept, but it's, even if it doesn't work for you, we can still network. Let's talk about this and see who and you know what I mean? How we can bond. But a lot of people take that 60 seconds and truly try to be like, oh, my services are for everyone. They're for you. You should buy it. Here's a website. And it's like, right? Like, no. I will go stalk you on the interwebs if I want to find your website or whatever. Or I will ask you for it nicely. I should not admit live that I stalk people on the internet.
She's better than me. She'll connect to everybody in a room quicker than anybody can even think about walking in the room. I'm pretty sure she's connected to most people in a room before everybody has stepped into the room.
Well, no, well, before they've all talked, usually, yes. So if you're new in a room and I don't know who you are, I'm already searching it. But yeah, so I think that the end all be all result of this conversation and the ones that we've had this week is find networking places that you feel comfortable, right? You should be happy to go. You should be liking the people you engage with, and you shouldn't feel awkward in the breakout sessions. And if you don't feel like that, go to other networking places and find it. Or finally, if you're like Brittany and I, we will start creating our own, which is one of the things that we've talked about. So we have some things happening in January with some all women's networks that we're going to be working with. But while we love doing that, like this is wonderful to give us and other women that ability to have conversations without any barriers, right? One of the things that we do love are the men in our lives, and we want to make sure that they are included also. So we're going to be looking at having a different kind of networking session. It may not start in January because it'll take us a minute, but very soon, I think we're going to be working on what we consider a better strategy for a networking meeting.
Yeah. No, I'm excited for it. And we are excited really to bring the Keystone Network back, which I don't know why we don't see that logo, but we're going to have to.
You know what? I realized I updated like the beginning and the end, like the closings, but I never updated our thing on here. But I will do that next time.
Just so you all know, Sarah has been doing so much this week. So it
but
has
speaking
been...
of our logo, this is something that Brittany may not know. So we are partnering with Synergy on doing some co-working and some different things. And Synergy is a networking group that we're part of. And yesterday, I hate using the word leader because it makes it sound like it's a cult. I don't, like when you say the leader of a group, it sounds a little cultish. So the organizer of the group asked for our logo. So you know how the little partner logos are on the covers are keys, and I gave the Keystone Network logo.
I would have done that too.
So we are now like official part of the Synergy networking platform weird thing. I don't know what they call it, but there's like 5 groups that all partner together on this networking thing. So it's very cool. And that'll be one other thing that we keep promoting is co-working and things like that through that group. So
awesome. So with that being said, we are at the 28 mark. Sarah, who are you?
I don't know. Today it's Wednesday. Do I have to be someone?
You have to be Sarah.
Okay. I will be Sarah. Hello, I am Sarah. Yay. No, I'm with Off the Beaten Path Consulting, and sometimes I'm a little off the beaten path. But I do business and leadership strategy, and I build those programs and platforms for small and medium-sized companies. But I also do one-on-one leadership strategy sessions with individuals to boost them in their leadership skills. I do that through my strategy table, which is an event that has 4 people plus myself in a conversation, but also those one-on-ones that you can book if you're not comfortable in a group setting. In addition, I have coloring books. Go check them out.
Yes. And if Sarah has to be Sarah, that means I have to be Brittany.
So at least for a little while.
Just for a little while. So I am Brittany. I am a accountability tech strategist. So my company is BizStorming, and we really focus on getting yourself aligned with your business, because whether you want to admit it or not, it's an entity, it is a beast, and we need to tame it.
Yes.
But if we don't align with it, we can't do anything. So we really find that alignment of where is the business going, where are you going, and how are we going to get you guys there together as one. So that is what I focus on, and I am super excited to see you all inside of the Keystone Network, which is the group that Sarah and I are building to make sure that business owners are highlighted. We have private offices for everybody, as well as we have 24/7 co-working. So if you can't sleep, you can hang out with the Aussies. If you're in America, if you're in an Aussie and you can't sleep, you can hang out with the English, and we're
We got
all going to help
everybody.
everybody. So we are creating that, and next in January, we're coming out with 2 new shows. So I look forward to talking to you all about that. Have a great day, guys.
Bye.